Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our first episode in our new webinar series, the Ultimate Selling Series. I'm super excited for today's episode. We're here with my cousin, Peter A. Roberti. Peter has been in the custom clothing business for over a decade, and he has accolades such as being on the board of the CTDA. He's also recognized within the 1% of custom clothing sellers. So in today's webinar, he's going to give us the secrets to selling a $2,000 and up luxury garment, and also how to introduce our new Adrian Jewels elevated casual wear line to customers. So without further ado, I'm going to give the platform to Peter.
Hey guys, thank you. Thanks for Alexa and the team over at Wholesale putting this together. Happy to be a part of this, and I you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm on the road right now, so I made a pit stop here, and we're doing this call live and in the moment. So a couple things. I know there was a couple polls that we've got, Alexa, that I wanna have you guys fill out if you don't mind, so we could get kind of an idea, because I think it's important not only when you're speaking to people, but also when you're talking to your client or getting to know a prospect for the first time. You've got to know who you're talking to. So I think that there's a couple polls that I want to, if you don't mind putting the first one up there, so we get an idea of who we're talking to. So if you don't mind filling this out here, so we could get an idea of who we're talking to, so we could cater this conversation to you guys. Also, as we're filling this out, make sure that I want you to guys understand that we've got about 45 minutes here, and I want you guys to ask any questions. There's a chat box. Ask any questions that you've got here, and we'll do our best to answer all of our questions, all of the questions today within these 45 minutes that we've got. Okay. All right, so it looks like we got some showroom settings. We got a sales managers. All right, we've got a little bit of everything. Some e-commerce. So we've got some direct sales. All right, awesome. So a little bit of everything. A little bit mostly on direct sales. Cool. Next question is, how many years we've been selling clothing or custom clothing? 10 plus years, 7 years, 3 to 7. Awesome. Good. And then our last question, how much do you want to sell individually? 1 to 400, 400 to 750, 750 to $1 million, $1 million to $2 million, $3 million plus. Awesome. Good. All right, great. So I want to talk about a couple. I wrote down some notes and some bullet points that I want to first hit on, that I think that are some my key principles in order to sell a high-end luxury garment. And the first thing is that the first step, and I believe that the first step before anybody else in the world believes it is you have to believe it. So you have to believe in the product that you're selling. So that comes through education. It comes through education in the product, understanding your product, and believing in yourself. So in order to do that, what I've done and what I would recommend to guys is that to everybody listening is that understand the product. Go to, for example, Adrian Jewels. Go to Adrian Jewels and get inside. Go to the factory and see the people making the clothing. Understand what goes into making the program or into the clothing. That is going to be the first step that I think in order for you to sell a luxury high-end garment is you have to believe in the product. So that is going to be the first step. The second thing that I think that is important in in selling a product, a high-end garment, is going to be that it is a technique that I use is called stacking. So I think that stacking your appointments and stacking yeses is another key principle that I like to use when selling a high end garment. So, for example, um, for example, stacking your appointments. So if there's some newer guys that are here, and you've got say 3 appointments, or only 3 appointments a day, is it is better to stack all of those appointments all together versus separating them from, instead of separating them at 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, you're better off stacking those appointments to create momentum. So what I mean by that is that if selling is very emotional. So so if you've got 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock, it perceives you to be super busy all day. When the client's there, perceives you to be very, very busy. So, for example, if a guy's, your 12 o'clock appointment sees that, he's got to wait for you to finish your 11 o'clock appointment, and, your 11 o'clock appointment, and then as soon as his 12 o'clock's done, he then, as soon as your 12 o'clock's done, you've got a 1 o'clock coming in. It will give the perception that you're super, super busy. So that is one thing that I like to do in terms of stacking, especially when I was early on in the business. I would stack my appointments all together, and to create this illusion that I was super busy. It's in the client's mind that he will then give this. They kind of build off of each other for those people that are in, and also another key thing is going to be momentum. Is that this will help create momentum. Usually what I tell guys that are kind of, slumping in the business, or, have hit a route, is that I say, create momentum. So in order to create momentum, start by selling something that's super, super easy to sell. Like, for example, like you could go to all of your clients and say, hey, I've got this new mechanical stretch shirting fabric that I want you to try out, or I've got these new 5-pocket jeans that I want you to try, out. Go through your list and do something that's easy. Starting getting clients to say yes in order to get them to say yes, in order to create momentum. That gets them in the buying mode. Does that kind of make sense? I'm kind of rambling a little bit.
I think that makes sense. And again, any questions anyone has, use the chat. I'm going to moderate that. So feel free during any point when we're speaking, just to put questions in there. And Peter, I have a question. So when you're stacking appointments, if you're in a bricks and mortar store, your client is going to be able to see your next appointment coming in. Now, if you're going office to office and you're running close to your next appointment time and you have to leave, what do you usually tell your client? So, hey, I have another appointment at noon, or how do you typically handle when you're in a bit of a time crunch?
So, I always, it's important that, the client's time is super valuable. So, I always check in with, I usually book about 45 minutes to an hour with a client. And I usually, halfway through the meeting, I always check with the client, especially if I see him checking his watch and I know that I've got to be somewhere here shortly. I make sure that, I'm conscious of the time, and I'm conscious of his time, because his time is super valuable, and he's giving, he's a super busy individual, and he's giving his time to us, or to me. So I want to make sure that I am being conscious of his time. So within a half hour, I always check in with the time, make sure he's doing okay. and usually within a half hour into it, I usually say, okay, we got about 15 minutes left, and then we'll get you on your way. And I usually book in the 15-minute mark. So if I've got a 11 o'clock, if I've got an 11:15 appointment, I'll book that till 12 o'clock. And then I've got my next one starts at 12:15.
Great. And then when you're talking about building momentum, can you walk us through the process of, and quickly, I don't want to divert too much from the main point of the presentation, but how you set those appointments. So are you texting clients, hey, I just got this new mechanical shirting fabric, you should check it out, or I have these amazing 5-pocket jeans you need to see? Are you calling them, texting them? How are you setting the appointment? And then when you're at the appointment, do you add on additional products typically, or do you just sell the one product that you were talking about?
So a couple things. So I got a couple theories that, especially if you want to get the guys, well, answer your first question, to book appointments, I'm doing it two different ways. Even to this day, I'm still cold calling and cold emailing people, clients and prospects.
Real quick on that, about how many cold calls or emailing messages are you sending a day?
I'm probably sending out, cold calls, probably at least 50 of them, but I'm sending out an additional probably 100 or so messages to connections to my clients a day. So at least 150 or so reaches a day. And still doing cold calls to this day. My new clients, I do like a drip campaign. So if I connect with somebody or I meet somebody at an event, I'll connect with them through our social media links, and then I don't message them right away, but I'll drip content to them. And, so to make sure that they continue to see that, they see our posts, I see our email blasts, and then when I do ask for the meeting or I do call them, they've already seen our content for the past month, so they're bound to see something. Or they're all of a sudden, Adrian Jules 2 months ago was who's Adrian Jules, until right now it's, oh, I'm pretty familiar with them. They've seen a lot of stuff that I like. They're going to take the meeting. Initially, I'll call the guy. For a new client, I'll call him. For repeat clients, it's mostly through text messages.
Great. And then we have a couple questions from the chat. So you mentioned you're getting some prospects through networking at social events and through social media. Can you dive a little bit deeper into how you're finding prospects and getting their contact? So is there a specific social platform that you prefer to use, introductions, etc.?
So I'm doing a lot. We're doing a lot of social media. I like to, for example, if I'm going to see a client, I'm going to see a client in their office. They're running a financial firm. If I'm meeting this guy for the first time, I like to understand who's in the office. So I want to understand who's in the office. Who are the key guys? I don't want to work with middle management. I only want to work with the best guys in the company or in the financial firm. So if I'm meeting with the top guy, I want to first do a good job for him. But once I leave that office, I'm going to send him a follow-up text message the next day, and say something along the lines, this is a in-person meeting, or an in-person referral. How I'd get referrals is that, one, I got to this guy through another referral. So I would then say with a follow-up text message, something along the lines of, hey, Tim, I know Mr. Smith and Joe Lansbury's offices near you, and I know Ed told me that those were two guys that I should talk to as well. Next time I'm out there, I love to make an introduction to them. So therefore, it's a soft, easy. I've done my homework on my end. I know the key guys where I could use the guy who got me to this guy as another way to say, hey, he thought that I should meet him as well. And then that kind of, with that triangle, will connect the dots to meeting those two new guys. So when I go to this guy's office again, I'm not just seeing him, I'm going to see 3-4 guys in the office, because once those two guys hear that the guy in the office got some clothes, and then I'm going to see those two guys, that there's going to be 2 or 3 more guys that want to see me as well that the next time I'm out there.
Okay, and then another question from the chat. So I think this speaks more to the initial appointment. So your first meeting, are you typically measuring before or after you've selected the garments, lining, styling, etc.?
So we go through, so it's going to be about 20 minutes before we even look at fabrics. So what the process, the one-on-one version of what we do, and we've got a whole entire training process on how we do it. But what we do is we go through a wardrobe consultation with the client. So we'll spend 15-20 minutes getting to know the client, because essentially everything comes in their size, but not everything's going to work for each client. So what we'll do is we'll go spend 15-20 minutes getting to know the client, building the relationship. You've got to in the first 15-20 minutes, you got to make that client your best friend. You got to establish trust. You've got to convince the client that what he's buying is going to be a great value. You got to make sure that he thinks that you're the expert. And you also have to do fact finding. So you got to find out what he's going to wear it for, how he wants to dress. So that way you could reiterate the things that he said when you're presenting the fabric.
And now, Peter, when you mention establishing trust, fact finding, making the client believe you're the expert, do you have certain phrases or certain questions that you will either ask every first appointment, or a phrase that you might say at every first appointment to establish that trust or that expertise?
Yeah, so some of the things that like one key question I like to ask is, when I say custom clothing, I think it means different things to different people. What are the 3 most important things what are the 3 most important things it means to you, or what does custom clothing mean to you? And that kind of builds the whole conversation. So, if he gives you 3 things when you're presenting those fabrics, if he says that durability is important to you, or I'm on the road all the time, or I'm speaking all the time, when you're presenting the fabrics, which is phase 2. So phase 1 would be the consultation. Phase 2 would be presenting the fabrics. You're going to reiterate word for word the things that he says he's told you and you've written down. So, when you're giving this consultation, you have to write the stuff down, and you have to be listening to the client. I've got clients that, I think I'm a really nice guy or a good guy, and they don't really know anything about him. I'm just asking the right questions and listening. So if he says that durability is important to you, and he wants a fabric that's 10 ounces or 12 ounces, or a fall and winter weight fabric or a summer weight fabric, whatever he answered to the questions, when you show him the fabric, you've got to reiterate word for word those answers he gave you. Does that answer the question, Alexa?
That answers the question.
I didn't get to measuring. So after he's picked out the fabrics that he likes, or put in the pile, his wish pile or his maybe piles, I like to say, if I think that the guy could pick out 3 suits or 2 jackets and some pants, I'll always add stuff onto it and then narrow it down, because the guy gets fatigued if he's making a lot of decisions. So I narrow it down, I get them all on the table, give him a break from making decisions, measure him, and then go back to finalizing the decisions.
And now we have a question regarding COVID. So are there any precautions you'd recommend when you're dealing customers? Have you modified how you're measuring, or are you taking more virtual appointments? Have you modified anything due to COVID-19?
I think COVID-19 for us has been really good. It's gotten us to think outside the box. We've definitely had to take some precautions in terms of inside the showroom. And for example, I was running around trying to find a spot that I couldn't go to Starbucks, so that was why we were a little bit late here. But we've definitely had to take some precautions in the showroom. But I think that now has been, we're seeing that it's been really, really good, and I think that the guys that make it through COVID are here to stay. Also, I just want to go real quick. I want to go back to picking out. I want to give one technique for everybody listening that I use a lot. Sometimes you have to know when to say no in order to sell more, down the road. So a delayed gratification. And what I mean by that, I could give multiple examples, but one, thinking of that happened a couple days ago is that, you've got a guy that's, gets in the buying mood, and we've all had these people where, they've got, they get picking out a couple suits, a couple sport coats, some shirts, 5-pocket pants, and so on. And you're in your head, he's at, 16, 17 grand or so. And he says, I want to pick out, a dozen ties. And this is a real example. You've got the ties in your bag. Do you pull out the ties or do you wait till next time you're going to see them? My approach is to wait, and the reason being is that guys want to be, if guys are in the buying mode or they're saying yes, they're going to buy more. So, for example, what happened was the next time I saw him, so this was 2 weeks ago, I saw him again next week. He in his mind, he already knows he wants to buy ties. So when I see him, I do the scrap fitting, which is another time you see him. The more times you see them, the more they're going to spend. So I see him again doing the scrap fitting. I know he knows he wants to buy ties. I have the ties. I took my time based on what you picked out. These are the ties that I'm going to recommend. He wants to pick out a dozen. I show him 20. He narrows it down to a dozen. And then what I do is, since he's already saying yes, I throw down my trump card. I have one fabric based on the homework that I did on what he picked out already. This is the one fabric. I give a compelling story, a reason why, it's rare, it's luxurious, it's whatever it is, but it's a no-brainer, and it's only one fabric. So you could turn you could have sold $20,000 with the add-on ties, or you could sell that one luxurious fabric, and all of a sudden you've got a $2,500 tie sale and a $5,500 suit. So that's you say no immediately to and there's other techniques. You could hold shirts back. There's other techniques that you could do to sell more down the road.
Great. So we have a lot of questions coming through on the chat, but just to kind of reiterate your process so far, you're sending about 150 messages to either prospects or current clients a day. So that's the goal, 100 to 150 a day. Then when you first connect with someone, especially over social media, or you get their information to put into the system, you're dripping information messages to them so they can see what you're selling. After about a month or so, then you're going to establish contact again to try to book an appointment. You might try with a what we call a muslin try-on or scrap fitting first to see the client. Then you're also going to establish trust, establish expertise, and maybe delay some of the garments that they wanted so that you can do the first round of sales, fitting, and at the fitting you would show the next round. Is that correct?
Yeah. So at the fitting, even though at the first sale, if there's something that he wants to purchase, when you've already got a large purchase, you're better off saying no right now in order to get more later on.
Great. So I'm gonna go to the chat, and first we'll go through obstacles toward the end. So when clients say no, how you overcome those obstacles. But let's say you have a client that is converting a client from spending $3,000 to $5,000 for a suit and a couple shirts to a bigger sale with a bunch of garments. So how do you typically convert that? Let's say a client is buying a suit and 2 shirts. How would you approach them to add on maybe one of the cargo trousers that we're doing, or an extra set of pants, or to make it a larger sale?
Gotcha. So one, you've got to understand your client, what he's going to wear it for, and how he's going to wear it. So, so what I would recommend to do in order to get them to the next level is that you got to get him to start saying yes. So, so if he says yes to, the suit, the 2 shirts, you could do, one thing that, I sometimes use, the terminology I use is, let's make a business look and a fashion look. So if you're, for example, if you're doing a sport coat look, you've got you got one sport coat, you're going to have, your classic, classic pair of pants with it. And then you got your fashion look. So, that's an easy add-on sale. You've got your, each sport coat's going to have 2 business shirts and then, 2 going out shirts or fashion looks. That's an easy way to add on sales versus just the sport coat and the slack. If somebody's just buying a suit and, 2 pairs of, or I'm sorry, suit and 2 shirts, it's hard for me to answer that question because I don't know where he's going to be wearing it, how he's going to wear it, or where he's going to wear it. If he's going to be traveling, he's going to need more than just 1 suit and 2 shirts. Your idea is you want to make it easy for clients. So I would say if a guy's just wants a suit and 2 shirts, I would say that in order to sell him more stuff, you've got to do a better job in the fact finding in order to dig into how he wants to wear his clothes in order to sell him more stuff. And I hope that answers the question.
I think that answered the question well. Now, Peter, if you wouldn't mind, can you recap your process, and then when the selling occurs, so when the client's actually picking out the clothing, and then when you might add on the business versus fashion look. So the first step, you are, let's say you're doing the fact finding, you're asking questions, what type of work they do, if they belong to country clubs, just to get a feel for their type of garments. What comes next? And when do you start selling?
So I think that everybody needs to understand that if the guy's meeting with you, he's already sold. He's already bought into the process. It's your job not to screw it up. So if he's meeting with you, there is no reason he should be walking out the door without buying something. So he's already bought into your process. He understands, your business. He's done some research. Now, at this day and age, you can find anything on the internet. So I would say that when you're meeting with somebody, go with the mindset that this guy's not leaving without me selling something. And I want to sell him a $2,500 or a $3,000 suit because, every guy is going to get filled up with at some point going to say, Pete, I got a bunch of clothing. I rather sell them, $5,000 outfits versus $1,500 outfits. So that's my first in terms of mindset. In terms of and that goes along with the selling process. So to reiterate, the first thing that I do is I tell a quick story about myself, how I got involved in the business, the company, and then everything's about the client. So I ask them questions about what's important to them in terms of clothing. Alexa, could you hear me okay? There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, you're coming in clear.
So a series of questions. Do you want, I have them feel my fabric. I say, this is a 9 ounce fabric, a 9 ounce fabric or an 8 ounce fabric. Is it important you have two different wardrobes, a summer and a winter? That's another question that I ask. Do you do stand-up presentations? I talk about, what the most important services that we offer within becoming a client of Adrian Jewels. I go through, my fact finding is going to be, how they want to wear the clothing. What do they have in their wardrobe? So I understand, and this is a 3-page document. So I understand exactly what they have, how they want to wear it. So every time, if I don't hear from that client in 6 months or a year from now, I know exactly what's important to them, what they have in the wardrobe, and how they want to wear it. And then from there, I will then present fabrics. And they might not buy everything that I'm presenting to them all at once. And I usually tell guys, let's not go for the home run. Let's try a few things first, and then once you get to understand my process, we can then add things. But I always like to add, if the guy's bought, starts getting into the buying mood, and adds, he's got a suit, a sport coat, a couple pairs of pants, I always add in something. Let's try something different, and that's where I'll add the 5-pocket pants, the drawstring pants, the jogger pants. I'll add the Timothy deconstructed style garment if I think it's going to fit their lifestyle. So you want to add something that's kind of, once he's starting to say yes, and he's nodding his head, and you feel like you're saying all the right things, is you want to add something that's going to push the envelope a little bit for them. But once they get it on them, they're going to love it. So that's how I've been adding a lot of the 5-pocket pants, the joggers, the drawstring pants, or the trainers, is that I add it after the guy said yes 3 or 4 times. I'll add it as an add-on sale.
Great. And you mentioned once you get the client to say yes. So can you maybe go over some obstacles you might come through with a client saying no? Like, for example, I have to check my closet. I think I have something like this, or I can't imagine what this swatch would look like made up on a jacket.
So the less confident person or the less influential person, or let me reword this. If you're more influential, if you're more confident, you'll always get the sale. So if the client's saying no, there's something that you've done before, is something that you did in the presentation or the consultation that you didn't gain trust, or you didn't convince them to say yes. So what I would say is that, fortunately, I don't hear a lot of no's, but if I do, I would say something along the lines of, depending on what the no is, I would try and scale back. I never want to go without making a sale. So even if you have to scale back the order, so say the guys picked out 3 or 4 suits and a navy blue sport coat and a gray pair of pants and a couple shirts, I'll say, well, why don't we just try something? Let's just let's just start with one. Let's just start with a pair of pants, a nice navy blue sport coat, and a white dress shirt. Everyone can imagine a navy blue sport coat. So if the guys, sometimes if a guy sees a $10,000 bill, they say, hey, that might be a little bit much. So what I would say is scale back, get to sale. I usually use language, something along the lines of, I really think that we should just get your pattern down. Let's just make sure we get your pattern for your pants, your jacket, and your shirt. And then afterwards, if you decide, this is right for you, we can do the rest of the order.
Great. And then another objection some clients may have is, this really isn't in my budget right now, or I was really hoping to spend something something closer to 1,800, 2,000, or something less.
I would say that you've got to do a better job of your prospect list. You're not marketing to the right people. If a $1,800 is, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's really not that much money. I mean, you got to wake up every single day thinking and believing that you're the best clothier in the country or in upstate New York or in your town. So if somebody's trying to ask for a better deal, or if somebody wants a better deal, then we're not the right fit. I would say that everybody's trying to compete for the lowest garment. You know, Guys will come to us because they want the best. So I would say that, and we have guys that come. There's other competition in town that guys will come to us because they said that, a guy in last week. I've always, I was been buying stuff for like $1,500 for a suit, but I've always felt like there's something else out there, something that's better. So if you're building a business, why would you want to lose guys to that? I would say that you're better off competing at the top where there's less competition, than competing at the bottom where everybody's trying to get a piece of it. And that guy that's at $1,500 is going to say, oh, my buddy across the street's only selling them for $1,200, so let me try that place.
And Pete, are you when you're in person, are you educating the client on the quality of the garment, or justifying the price point at all in person for education, or is that typically handled on the marketing before the appointment takes place?
So that's a good point. And I started rambling and I had my notes and I was looking back and forth. When I went back to believing in the product, is in order to sell the product, you have to wear the product. You have to wear the product. You can't go into a meeting with a $1,000 suit and expect to sell a $3,000 suit. It just doesn't work. So you have to wear the product and believe in the product. And if you look when you're wearing that garment and you look a certain way, and you stand a little bit taller, you speak with confidence, you won't believe how little you actually have to really hit on the nuances of the garment, because through your confidence and through the way that you speak, the client will believe that there's no other product to buy other than this garment. So I would say that you don't have to go into too much, because if you don't have to go into too much, because almost less is more on that.
Now, another common objection that our clients are getting are, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and once I lose weight, then we'll pull the trigger. How do you handle that objection?
I would say awesome. I've got clients that are losing weight all the time, and what we're going to do is we're going to do multiple fittings. Our first fitting is going to be about 4 weeks. We're going to do a fitting on that. I'm going to, the bottoms aren't going to be finished, the sleeves aren't going to be finished, and if you lose about 10 pounds, we'll bring that right upstairs. We got 2 tailors on site. We'll adjust it for you, and then in 2 weeks from there, we'll fit it again. Make sure it's perfect. And if you did lose a little weight, we'll take it in. If not, most of the times it's usually about right. So that would be the language that I would usually say to that. And now, if they throw out another objection, then if you want to be prepared to have your language in place, but if it gives out 3 objections, then what? Shame on you. Maybe we didn't do a good enough job prospecting. Maybe he might not actually be a client or a good prospect.
And Pete, would you recommend, before you get into the sales process, to kind of, especially if you're in a team, come up with common objections and language that you might want to use to overcome it?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that was on my list to talk about. It's so important that you get a circle of influence of people that are in this industry that you can bounce ideas off of each other. We do it. The team that we've got at retail are awesome. The girls in the office, John, my dad, we all, Bill, we all work together and bounce ideas off of each other. We troubleshoot different things that are going on with clients that are tough that we don't know how to answer it, but maybe John knows how to, or my dad knows how to, or maybe the girls might have an idea about an event. I don't know, but it's important to come up with some really good guys in this industry that you could trust. If I'm happy to help too. I'm gonna share my number that I'd be happy to help guys want to reach out to me and be a part of the team and the family, and really bounce ideas off each other. Be happy to help. But I would say that is super important to create your team so that way you could build off of each other.
So another question over here is, let's say a garment is delayed. How do you communicate that to your clients, especially if it's more of a timely delay?
Yeah, it's always that's no different than like a fabric being out. Like, it's like they're tough conversations you got to have with your client. But I've after doing this for so many years, my opinion is that you're better off being upfront and blunt and truthful with the client than to try and avoid it or go around it or sub a fabric or say it's on its way, but it's really not on its way. So what I would say is that I would call my client up. If you've done your job when you first met with them to establish a good relationship with them, be upfront and honest with them. Say, hey, we had a delay in the fabric. I thought it was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago. It ended up coming in last week, and so on, or whatever exactly happened. I would just communicate that to the client, and usually they're pretty easy about it. If not, then you could always fire a client if he's not going to be if he's not going to be okay with something.
Another question from the chat. What are some of your favorite fabric ranges? So let's say you're doing your fact finding and you realize your client, maybe they want to do all season suitings or travel suitings. What are some of your favorite either fabric ranges or types of fabric that you would use for all season, travel, spring, summer, fall, winter?
That's a great question. I how I would answer that is going to be completely I would say that I personally, there's a lot of collections that I like, but it depends on the answers that I get from my client in order for me to show the collections that I'm going to show to him. So even though Amadeus 365 is a great all season book, but if the client lives in Florida and he travels a lot and he wants a super lightweight lightweight fabric, maybe that's not the right fabric for him. Maybe it needs to be more of a drier finish fabric. So I would say that I've got a lot of favorites in terms of books, but I would say focus on the client and getting to know them and making sure they're in the right fabric based on the answers that they gave you to the questions that you asked them before. That would be the most important thing.
Great. Now we're rounding out we only have a few minutes left here. So I just want to hit a couple last questions. One is, how often are you tracking your numbers, your calls, your team's numbers to make sure that you're hitting your revenue goal for that month or that quarter?
Have goal, like for me personally, and also the team. I would say that we've got, I understand the numbers that I've got to hit every single day, and I review them every night. we do a good amount of business here in Rochester, and it's important to us that we continue to grow. So there's, you always want to push yourself, push yourself each day. And it's important to keep them in front of you, in front of you every single day. So I would say that, another thing that's important is to stay consistent and disciplined. So each day, like even myself, there's some days when I've got, I send out, a whole week, I didn't hear a single person from those reaches. And then all of a sudden, those cold calls, I get one, and he's a player, then it just makes it all worth it. But you've got to stay consistent and disciplined every single day in order to reach those goals. So I would say that we're reviewing them every single day. And once a week we have a sales call once a week, but I review them every day.
Now, our last question that we're going to take for today's session. So do you have a few specific questions to determine if a prospect is a good fit for our garment? Or I know you mentioned when you're looking up on social media, especially you're looking at job titles, but is there anything else that you do to qualify the lead?
So what I would do is what I would do it like today, if I was trying to find more, wanted more leads, is I would go look at my client list and pick out my 20, 50 or 10 to 50 best clients. And I'd find them on LinkedIn or any type of social media platform. And then, I use LinkedIn. I also use Instagram and Facebook. And then within there, you could see the friends that they have. Guys only, sooner or later, guys only hang out around guys that could hang with them. And what I mean by that is that if got a client that's, one of your best clients, and he's going on vacations and this and that, he's only going to hang out around with guys that could go on vacations and spend the money that he spends. So what I would say is that go into their social medias and find out who they're hanging out with. And then chances are, when you look them up on social media or LinkedIn, you're going to see in their title that they're, running companies or running, CEOs or CFOs or contractors or whatever it is. Chances are, if your clients, doing that, they're doing the same thing. So I would say that you could find a bunch of clients by just doing that. That's how I would build a prospect list, is to use your list, go into their list. And chances are they've probably talked to them. If I've got a client, David, who's running a company, and he's probably, going on vacations with these people, that's kind of a warm lead already. And right now with social media, you could just direct message these people. So that's how I would do it versus, buying a list or something like that. And just, not understanding, who the client is. I would first work off of your list, and go into each client's list and scrubbing their connections.
Great. So again, thank you so much for everyone that attended, and thank you, Peter, for your time. If you guys have any questions that we did not have the chance to answer, or that you come up with after today's session, feel free to send me an email, alex@adrianjules.com, and we'll get back to you. And then again, I think some key takeaways that I took, you got to put the work in. So 150 messages a day. You want to review your numbers daily. You want to make sure you do a good job at fact finding, so you know how to present the product. Come up with your common objections and how you would rebuff those or overcome those objections. Then when presenting something like the new casual wear line, you want to make sure it fits into your client's lifestyle. And I liked how Peter approached it. Let's try something different, or let's try something new. I thought that was a great way to put it, especially when they're already, buying their business, and then might be something more fashion. So again, thank you again, everyone that came, and I look forward to our next session together.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Alexa, will you share them afterwards, my number or my email address, if anyone's got questions? I know we were jumping around a little bit. And Alexa, thank you for starting to ask some questions. I think that helped a lot. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
All right. Thanks, guys.